listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin. Hi, friend. Jean here, and welcome to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where I help homeschooling parents create a personalized plan that's simple, creative, and doable so you can homeschool with confidence. Today, I want to talk about something that has made a bigger difference in my homeschooling journey than any curriculum, planner, or resource I've purchased, and that is support. More specifically, what happens when you stop trying to figure everything out on your own and you can find someone to guide you and a group of people who are on a similar journey as you? I was thinking about this recently because this summer, marks the 20th anniversary of the Taproot teacher training, and it brought back a memory from my early homeschooling days. I remember trying to teach my children how to play the recorder. Now, on the surface, it seemed simple enough. I had played recorder myself when I was in 4th grade. I had the recorders, I had the sheet music, I had the book explaining what to do, but I still couldn't quite figure out how to bring this to my children. How much of the song should I play? How much should they play at a time? How do you introduce a new song? What does the lesson actually look like in real life? I had the information, but I was missing the experience. What I wanted more than anything was for someone to show me. I wanted to sit in the room and watch an experienced teacher teach a recorder lesson, and then I wanted an opportunity to try it myself. Not because I needed more information, because I needed a demonstration. I needed to see this in action and practice and get feedback. In the summer of 2007, during those early years of my homeschooling journey, I was so excited when my mentor, Barbara Dewey, created the first Taproot teacher training. I attended that very first summer gathering as a homeschooling parent. The next year I became a presenter, and now I host the Taproot teacher training. But this has been a journey for me. Back in 2007, exactly what I needed came to me. I didn't just hear someone talk about teaching recorder. I experienced it. We learned the songs together, we practiced, we made mistakes, we laughed, and we got to see what the teaching process, the back and forth of the teaching process actually looks like. And suddenly, something clicked. I learned that you don't need to teach the entire song all at once. You can play the whole song, but then you play a small section at a time and invite the child to play it back to you. You create a back and forth rhythm. You build the song gradually. It seems so obvious now, but it wasn't something I could truly understand from reading about it. I needed to experience this and try it out myself. And honestly, that's one of the most important lessons I've learned about homeschooling. The thing that holds most homeschooling parents back is not a lack of information. We live in a world overflowing with information, way more than even when I started my homeschooling journey. We have books, podcasts, websites, curriculum, online courses, Facebook groups, and Instagram reels. What many of us are missing, though, is support. We're missing opportunities to see what something looks like in real life. We're missing chances to practice. We're missing the opportunity to work with a mentor and finding fellow homeschoolers who can say, yes, you're on the right track. Or here's a small adjustment that might help. Because information and support are not the same thing. And that's what I want to talk about today. What actually happens when you have ongoing support in your homeschool and why it can change everything. Back when I was figuring out how to teach my children how to play the recorder, what I needed wasn't another resource. I needed a person, a human being. I needed someone to demonstrate it, let me try it, and then help me make sense of what happened. And over the years, I've realized that recorder lessons are not the only thing that works this way. Homeschooling itself works this way. We have access to more and more information as homeschooling parents, yet many feel stuck. Why? Because knowing and doing are two different things. This is actually one of the core principles of the Waldorf approach and teaching through the lively arts, that we want to learn from another human. I like to describe it like this: the experience before the explanation. We don't learn how to wet on wet watercolor paint by reading about painting. We learn by painting. We don't learn storytelling by reading about storytelling. We learn by telling the stories or reading the stories in very beautiful ways. And we don't become confident homeschoolers by consuming information. We become confident by practicing. As Aristotle said, for the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them. A few episodes back, I talked about how confidence is evidence-based. It grows when we try something, reflect on it, make an adjustment, and try again. If you haven't listened to that episode, be sure to check it out, Building Homeschool Confidence One Step at a Time. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes for this episode, which you can find at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 262. So yes, confidence is evidence-based, and the cycle moves much faster when we are surrounded by people who can help us interpret what's happening. I get to see this over and over again inside the Inspired at Home community. A homeschooling mom who thought she was failing but simply needed a small adjustment. Parents who discovered their child was on the right track and making progress all along by talking with others. A parent who borrowed one simple idea from another homeschooler and completely transformed a lesson. This is the power of community and what happens when you have ongoing support. Sometimes you might even need to step away completely out of your daily life and experience the learning yourself. This is the quickest injection of understanding possible. When you immerse yourself in the lessons and the lively arts, learning from experienced homeschoolers who've been where you are, then you aren't just hearing about the lessons, you're experiencing them. This is what we do in one long weekend every summer at the Taproot teacher training. And I would love to see you there in person. You can find a link to details in the show notes. Looking back on my recorder experience, it wasn't really about the recorder. It was about discovering something that would shape the rest of my homeschooling journey. I learned that there are some things you simply can't fully understand from a book, a curriculum guide, or even a podcast. You need to experience them. You need to see them demonstrated and have a chance to practice yourself. And that's exactly what happens at Taproot. Whether it's storytelling, painting, singing, handwork, movement, circle time, or main lesson work, you aren't just hearing about the lively arts, you're actually experiencing them. You become the student. And when you've experienced a lesson yourself, something shifts. Suddenly you can imagine yourself bringing it to your own children. You begin to understand not just what to do, but how it feels and why it works. The gift of that recorder lesson wasn't learning a new song. The gift was realizing that confidence grows when we move from theory to experience and practice. That's why Taproot has continued for the past 20 years. Homeschooling parents don't just need more ideas. They need opportunities to experience those ideas, practice them, and see what they look like in real life. And then I have more recently created the Inspired at Home community to help homeschooling parents continue to build their confidence over time through practice and reflection. Inside Inspired at Home, you'll find monthly masterclasses, coaching calls, community conversations, sharing what's working, getting unstuck. It's a place to ask how to get started and then come back after you've tried something and say, here's what happened, now what? As I look back on my 25 plus years of homeschooling, I don't think the most valuable thing I gained was from a curriculum or a planner or even a particular teaching method or approach. It's really been the people, the mentors who showed me what was possible, the teachers who demonstrated lessons and invited me to give them a try, the other homeschooling parents who shared their experiences, offered encouragement, and helped me see my children with fresh eyes. The truth is, homeschooling was never meant to be done alone, and that's why support matters so much. Because support turns information into transformation. That's right, support takes the information and turns it into transformation. And transformation is really what we're after, isn't it? It's one thing to read about storytelling, rhythm, lesson planning, or the lively arts. It's another thing entirely to experience them, practice them, reflect on them, and have someone walk alongside you as you learn. If you're craving an immersive experience where you can step away from everyday life, experience the lively arts for yourself, and learn alongside other homeschooling parents, I would love to invite you to join us at the Taproot teacher training this August. And if what you need right now is ongoing support, encouragement, coaching, and an online community throughout the year, Inspired at Home was created exactly for that purpose. You'll find links for details to both of these opportunities in the show notes at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 262. Whether it's a weekend retreat, a year-round online community, or both, my hope is that you'll find the support you need for this journey, because you don't have to figure it all out on your own. And honestly, you were never meant to. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.